Hi, who's this?
Tabitha?
Oh, hi. And Candy? Candy, can you hear me? Was that you? Candy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, let me wait a couple of minutes and see if we get anybody else to join us. I'm glad you saw the change in the schedule today. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I was out of town yesterday, so I figured I'd move it to Saturday.
Oh, happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you too.
Ditto.
Has the Easter Bunny come to your house yet?
Not yet.
We're actually going to meet the Easter Bunny right now.
Oh, great. I remember those days. How old is your little one?
We have a 6-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Oh, that's perfect. They're just the right age. My little boy's 30 years old.
He's still your little boy?
Oh, yeah, he always will be. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mute you and we'll get started. Oh, I did want to mention, I'm not sure we're going to have a full 30 minutes. I'll try to cover everything, but we just have the one chapter 7. So I'll try to cover everything in the chapter, and then if I'm not sure it'll meet up to the 30 minutes.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, I see somebody else joined.
Hello,
Hi, who's this?
Rebecca Prince.
Oh, hi, Rebecca. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mr. Barnes?
Good. Well, I'm glad you could join us.
Oh, yes, sir. Me too.
Maybe I ought to ask the three of you, would you rather meet on Saturday? Does it matter?
I think Saturday is easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well then, next, so for the week 5 meeting, we'll make it for Saturday.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you make it around 3?
What?
Can you make it around 3 instead of 2?
Okay. Are you in Central Time?
Yes, sir. I think so.
So I need to make it for 4,
Yes, sir.
be 3 Central Time.
That'll be fine.
Okay. Let me check one other thing. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mute you.
Okay.
Rebecca, I go ahead and mute you, and if you have any questions at the end, I'll open it up for questions.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go ahead and start our week 4 live meeting in the legal research class. And if you notice, we're we're going to review the different strategies for finding case law. And as we've learned in the course, the two main areas of our legal system are the cases, the cases that are decided by the courts, and the statutes that are passed by the state legislatures and Congress. Those are the two main areas of what you'd be doing legal research in. It also includes, if you remember, the constitutions, but very rarely are you going to have a constitutional issue unless you're working for a criminal attorney. Then you would have many constitutional issues, as you know, the Fifth Amendment and some of the other famous famous constitutional and the Bill of Rights issues. But for general civil law, it's very unusual that you'd run into a constitutional case where you'd have issues involving the Constitution, but it's not totally unheard of. And if you remember from the chapter on statutes, there is three ways that you find the statutes, and this also applies to the case law. The most frequent way is by the citation. Generally, if you're doing some kind of research, you may have a citation to the case, and I'm going to talk in a little more detail about exactly what that means. And also, you can search in the databases under the parties' names. If you happen to know that the plaintiff is Mr. Hancock, and he's suing the city of Atlanta, you can search in the database under just the party names, and that case will come up. The last way is what you'll probably be using a lot, is by subject. And what we mean by that, this is where the Boolean search operators come in. If you had a case where, let's say, someone had broken into a department, well, let's use just a regular retail store, had broken in and was injured when he broke in there, is the property owner liable for his injuries? And here's where you would do searches based using the Boolean operators. You would search under real estate, under retail business. You might even find some of the cases under breaking and entering. Most of those would be criminal cases. But you want to use those search operators to find the cases that you need to handle the case that you're dealing with. And let me mention again, when we're talking about finding the cases by citation, if you remember from a previous chapter, the West Law, who originally, had the citations beginning, that Westlaw has divided the United States into areas. We're in the Southeast. There's a Northeast. We're Southern. There's a Southeast. There's a Pacific. There's just all the area, Southwest. There are areas all over the United States, and West has divided the cases by those areas that they have picked. When you go to search a case, if you remember, they are in books, and they begin with number 1, and they continue on through a certain volume. So if, let's use an example. If you're looking for a case in, and I'll use some in the book here. If you were looking for, let me find a good one so we can try to find something here. Here would be one that if you were trying to find the people of California versus Akua Kaloni Tafunga, wow, I guess I got that right. You would see this citation, 987. If you have the textbook, this is at the bottom of page 129. You would find 987, and you see P second, 168, and then the year 1999. Now, what all that means is that case, the people of California, you have to go to the volume in the Pacific Reporter, that's what the P is, so it's a California case, and you would have to find volume 987. And if you turned to page 168, that's where you would find that case. Now, there's an additional complication is if you've got the textbook and you're looking at it, you'll see Pacific Second. Wait a minute, what's going on here? Many of the reporters, this is the reporter system in Westlaw, starts with just Pacific, and they go to so many volumes, up to usually 1,000. You notice this one's 987. Then they start over with a second edition. And so this case is found in volume 987 in Pacific Reporter's second edition, page 168. And the additional part of the citation, the parentheses, tells you that that case was decided in 1999. So that's what we're talking about when we say, what is a citation, or where do you find a case in the reporter system? And if you put that citation into a Westlaw search or a Lexis search, that would go to that case. Now, there's another case there, Carol Kolstad versus American Dental Association. And you notice this is a little different. It's U.S. Well, what in the world is that? 527 U.S. 526. This tells you that this is a Supreme Court case, the U.S. being a reporter that reports the Supreme Court cases. And it was also decided in 1999. So in addition to the state reporters, we, of course, have the federal cases, and they are reported, again, by geographic location. The federal courts are divided up geographically, and that's how you would find that citation. Now, if one thing I want to remind you is, remember when we're talking about and these case citations, if you turn to that case and you find the case that you're looking for, that's what we call an appellate decision. Most trial courts do not report, the trial judges do not write opinions usually. Very rarely does a trial judge write opinions. And for the simple reason, he or she does not have time to write opinions. They've got hundreds of cases to consider. And so generally for a trial court where the case begins, you're only going to find judgment for plaintiff, judgment for defendant. So you're not going to find any opinion by the judge. And if you remember how how our American courts are arranged, you get an appeal to the appellate court. And in that appeal, then appellate judges look at that case and they render a decision, but they also write an opinion. And this is what is reported, is their opinion in that case, the decision they make, and then they back it up with the law that they feel applies. Now, it's also more complicated in that, remember, if a party loses at the appellate level, he or she can then appeal to the Supreme Court in each state, and eventually the parties can appeal in the federal courts to the United States Supreme Court. And remember, you don't get an automatic appeal. The Supreme Courts get to decide the cases they want to hear. So when you see a Supreme Court case, and of course that's going to be the final law in that state, and of course the United States Supreme Court is the final decision maker for the federal law. So these are only the appellate decisions that you're looking at when you're looking for the various the cases that you're trying to find. Now, I mentioned you also can find the cases by the party's name. And again, you're going to search it using either the plaintiff or the defendant and entering the party's name, and the databases will find it. Now, there is one problem in using the party's name. What if you have a party named Smith or Jones? Well, you can imagine how many thousands of cases are in our legal system by Mr. Jones or Mrs. Smith, just thousands of them. And the book indicates that a lot of the databases, Westlaw, Lexis, will allow you to limit it by the date. So if you happen to know about when the case was decided, if you happen to know that the case of Mr. Smith suing Mrs. Jones was decided in April of 2006, you then can limit your search to that date. So that would eliminate a lot of cases and make it easier for you to find. But obviously, if you've got a common name, that's going to be the most difficult to find. And the authors go through again, like they did with the statutes, as to how you search in Westlaw, in Lexis, Lois Law, in CaseMaker. I just recommend you read those. In looking at them, it doesn't seem like there's much of a difference in any of them, that they treat the searches the same way. Now, the final one, if you're trying to find cases, and here's giving the different search engines. If you're trying to find a case with a topic, and as I mentioned, let's use another example that you're working for a personal injury attorney, and you have a client who has been injured in a car accident, and your firm is going to sue the defendant driver who hit your client, who's the plaintiff, and you're going to sue the defendant and his or her insurance company for damages to the injuries that the defendant caused. So you, in searching for the case law that you want, you, again, you can't just put in car accident, automobile accident, vehicle accident. You're going to have thousands of cases. And so you're going to have to find out, in other words, let's assume that the defendant was intoxicated and he or she was guilty of a DUI. You then are going to want to search cases where a car driven by a person who was intoxicated under the influence has run into another vehicle. And that way you're narrowing the searches, and you may have to narrow it even further. So depending on the fact situation, it's always going to be the case that the client has brought you. The facts are going to reveal the kinds of topics that you're going to want to look for. If, let's say you had a case where you were representing a individual who was foreclosing on real estate. Well, obviously, you're going to want to search real estate, mortgage foreclosure, the person being foreclosed, the mortgage, or may have defenses to the mortgage foreclosure. And so you would want to search under a specific defense that they have alleged in the mortgage foreclosure. So as you can see, it depends a lot on the fact situation that you're dealing with, and it's always going to be different. I think one of the most interesting parts of the law practice that I've found is, and we're not going to talk about how long I've been practicing law, but it's almost never the same. Almost every case is different, and that there's a different factual situation. It's the variety of anything people can get involved in. So you certainly are not going to be bored, because the issues that arise are always going to be different depending on the case. Now, I want to give you, sorry about that. Where did that come from? I do want to give you a little extra information, because you're either joined the live meeting or you're going to be listening to the recording. And if you've already looked, the assignment for this week is the exercise under exercise 7.1 on page 126 in the textbook. And I want to give you a little heads up, because as you notice from the assignment, you're going to be searching these cases by citation. And if you notice that first case, and you're going to be answering these questions when you find the specific case. And you notice the question is, was the applicant denied due process? And you see the site 57 Fed Sup 2nd 1305 1999. What that means is the federal supplement is the cases reported under the district court. It's a federal case because it's federal supplement. It's the volume 57, and it's in the second edition, page 1305, and it was decided in 1999. Now, it's a little more complicated when you get into the state cases, and that's really what I want to point out. The answer to number 2, whose duty is it to engage in prosecutorial discretion? And you notice here you've got 2 sites. You've got 127 NM 566. And then you see 985 Pacific 2nd 168, and it was decided in 1999. Now, what's going on here? What's going on is the first site is the state that this case was decided in, because there aren't reporters just by the states. And so this is in volume 127 of New Mexico's volume, page 566. Now, the site that you want to use to search for the case is the second site, and that's page 985. And here we go again, Pacific 2nd, 168, and again, it was decided in 1999. And if you go through the 6 cases that you're going to be looking for, you notice that, well, let me go through all of them. You notice the number 3 is, under Minnesota law, how should contractual provisions be interpreted? And we find the site here, 186, Fed 3rd, 989. Again, decided in 1999. What this is the District Court of Appeals for federal court. The first case was a district court. This is a federal appellate court, and you notice it's in volume 186, Federal 3rd edition, 981. The fourth case, you have a site here to New York, and there is the volume that you'll find that in. If you look at the 5th case, you've got 2 sites again, 48 Connecticut Appellate 717, and the other site is 711 Atlantic 2nd 769, decided in 1998. The first site is, again, this case was decided in Connecticut, and so that is the Connecticut State Reporter, the site for that. But the site you want to use is the Westlaw site, 711 Atlantic 2nd edition, page 769. So there's a little tip, and hopefully that'll give you more of an understanding of what we're talking about when we're talking about doing these case searches. Well, let me go ahead and end the meeting at this point. Oh, good. We got another. Crystal, oh, you joined us, right?
Yes, sir.
Does anybody have any questions? I've unmuted everybody.
No, sir.
I don't have any.
Oh, good. I didn't totally confuse you.
No.
It is important, and that's why I bring it up, that does everybody understand? Wait, I got to unmute somebody else. Does everybody understand this citation business?
Not really.
Okay. What's confusing?
I suck at doing it, seriously.
What? I didn't hear it.
No, I'm terrible at doing it.
About doing these searches?
No, but doing the exercise.
Oh. Is this Tabitha?
Yes, sir.
Well, Tabitha, why don't you give me a call?
All right.
And why don't you go ahead and try to do them?
Mm-hmm.
And if you run into a problem, I know tomorrow's Easter.
Yeah.
We're all going to be celebrating, and so if you want to try to contact me the first of the week, if you have trouble with it.
I'm gonna contact you Monday?
Sure.
All right. At what time?
What's good for you?
I get up at 2, but
Okay. So
I could do it for 3:30. That'll be fine.
now you're on Central Time, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if it's 2 your time, it's 3 my time.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to say that?
Yes, sir.
And Candy and you too, and Rebecca, if anybody has any questions. Don't hesitate.
Okay, I don't have any at the moment.
Okay,
It all
good.
seems pretty good to me.
Good. If you do have any problems, just give me a call, and I hope everybody enjoys their Easter weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.